Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. The delivery of lasting medical infrastructure across Nigeria's geopolitical zones is the third phase of the intervention support of the coalition initiative. This time, it's the turn of the South-South, where a 200-bed infectious diseases hospital construction has been flagged off, while the 70-bed healthcare facility being built by NNPC has reached 90% completion at the Utako district in Abuja. The federal government is also ramping up gains from the business side of the industry, looking at marginal oil fields auction, even as OPEC calls for moves to make the best of evolving landscape in the face of COVID-19. That's the outlook of the week across the industry. My name is Akin Agbejile. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
We believe that with all of us working collaboratively together, private sector, public sector, understanding that we're on the same side, just that we have to tackle and solve this once and for all.
John, what is this? This is oil well. Oil well? This is what the Ghanaians called black gold. There is plenty money in this business. By this time tomorrow, I'm going to buy a brand new jeep. Jeep? Next month, I'm going to buy a whole house. House? Yes.
You need to show me the way.
Show us the way. You mean you want to be rich? Oh yes. You want to level up? Oh yes. You see, the ones there, let's go and pack it. And after that, I will take you there. Let's go.
Hello? Oga? Sir, these people have started their operation again. Abeg, send me 5 battalion FG guys. Thank you, sir. Sir.
You can buy everything you want to buy.
I will buy a shop. You are under arrest. Your hand on your head. If you move, I move you. Let me warn you all. Anybody or community that is involved in vandalization of our oil pipeline will face the wrath of the law.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC-led oil and gas industry intervention initiative on COVID-19 has begun the third phase of their support program with a groundbreaking ceremony for a permanent emergency and infectious diseases hospital for the South-South region in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. The event flagged off the plan by the intervention group to deliver lasting medical infrastructure across the 6 geopolitical zones in the country, which will outlive COVID-19. Chief Timipre Silva, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, while speaking at the event, affirmed that the project was part of the Nigerian Oil Industry Coalition initiative led by the NNPC to support the nation's efforts to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic.
The NNPC and its partners under this initiative will continue to contribute consignments of medical consumables, equipment, and logistic facilities across all the states in the country.
He reiterated that the oil industry was contributing 21 billion naira worth of support provided through internal procurement processes of contributing companies. Chief Silva said that Bayelsa State was considered a suitable site for the project given its pioneering role in the history of oil and gas in the country and its current contribution of about 40% to onshore crude oil output.
I want to congratulate the Bayelsa State government and also thank the NNPC and ENI group of companies and their partners and other participants in the initiative for their consideration to execute this project in Bayelsa State.
Mr. Chukwuemeka Wajiobi, Minister of State for Education, who represented the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, at the occasion, has this to say.
It's pertinent to categorically reiterate that all commitments of the coalition, which is all in kind, will be met and guided by a governance structure that is in line with the principles of transparency, accountability, performance and excellence, TAPE, of the GMD and global best practices.
Bayelsa State Governor Senator Duye Diri commended the petroleum industry for bringing the project to the state.
May I, on behalf of the good people of Bayelsa State and the government of Bayelsa State, and indeed on behalf of the South-South states, express my most sincere gratitude for your obligation, insight, and service to our zone, and particularly to our state.
The Group Managing Director of NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, assured that the oil and gas industry intervention would take healthcare to the next level.
This initiative is not anything out of the box, because it is something that must be done. And of course, the coronavirus impact is felt by everybody, by every community, particularly our country.
On his part, the Group General Manager, National Petroleum Investment Management Services, NAPIMS, who is also the coordinator of the initiative in the petroleum industry, Mr. Balawunti, disclosed that the corporation was working with its joint venture partners across the upstream, midstream and downstream sectors to support the health sector.
For us in the oil and gas industry, the health of the community we operate determine our health of our workers and determine the health of the industry. And that's why we make this informed decision to come together to put this support system.
He said that the NNPC-led intervention had allocated the 21 billion naira worth of support to various international oil companies, indigenous operators with joint venture stakes across the oil sector. The federal government will offer marginal oil fields for auction this year. Despite the crash in crude oil prices, the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Malam Mele Kyari, has said. He made this known during a virtual dialogue session on government fiscal policy decisions in response to the current challenges organized by the Ministry of Finance and the UK Department for International Development Partnership to engage, reform and learn. Marginal fields are oil blocks which production economics are considered unattractive by big-time players, which nonetheless are treasured by emerging producers. The Nigeria state oil firm Hemsman said the government would not be able to conduct any major licensing round as the current market realities would dampen foreign investors' appetite. He said marginal fields by their very nature require very small-scale investment, adding that countries normally do this licensing round to encourage local participation, and these local participation are usually funded by local borrowings because the scale of investment is not huge. Malam Kyari stated that a marginal fields bid round could be done even when oil prices are low because their costs of production are usually lower, maintaining that they don't need huge capital outlay. He ruled out the possibility of conducting a substantive full-scale licensing round where you require foreign investment. The NNPC GMD said this is not the best time to call foreign investors to participate in any bid round, saying the licenses will be priced very low and even the appetite will be very low. According to him, you are not likely to end up with the big players when you start a bid round under very low crude oil prices. We will go ahead with the marginal fields bid round, but we'll have to delay substantive bid round to a later date. In its commitment to continue to touch the lives of Nigerians in positive ways, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has disclosed that construction and installation work had reached 90% completion on its 70-bed facility in Abuja that will be dedicated to treating coronavirus patients and other patients that will require intensive health care. Managing Director of NNPC Medical Services Limited, Dr. Mohammed Zango, made this disclosure in an interview in Abuja. Dr. Zango stated that the NNPC health facility is undergoing massive reconstruction that will deliver a 60-bedded regular wards and 10-bedded intensive care units that requires very complex health services. He assured that a portion of the entire facility that will be dedicated to the COVID-19 patients will be ready in the next few days, saying that the entire facility would be completed in the next 3 months to curb medical tourism.
Other equipment that we're going to install there are the cath lab. We're going to have a cath lab where you can do heart surgery, and intervention cardiology there. We're going to have a world-class laboratory there. which, you know, I mean, is second to none, you know, in this environment. Then we are going to have very complex radiodiagnostic equipment like MRI, like CT scan, like digital X-ray, fluoroscopy. All of these are going to be available.
The managing director of the NNPC Medical said despite the lockdown, the NNPC Medical Services Limited was able to secure these highly technical medical equipment from the original equipment manufacturers like General Electric and JNC International Limited, adding that some of the equipment were also sourced from within Nigeria.
Nigerians will expect high complex, high-end healthcare services that those Nigerians normally travel abroad to get. For instance, we have a plan of engaging a global healthcare brand that we can partner with. These are brands that they can actually craft their healthcare, services. They can bring them up to international accreditation. They can also train their people. They can carry our healthcare personnel into their world-class facility, work there, get some experience, and bring them back. They can also come over to our own facilities because of the kind of partnership that we have, and also work with us here, look at our process and procedure, make sure they are in line with the international acceptable methodology. So with that, we can transfer the technology to Nigeria, develop our own manpower, and then we'll be able to run the structure in our own.
The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has called for constant dialogue among reputable energy institutions to proffer sustainable solutions to the evolving energy landscape in the face of the novel coronavirus pandemic. The OPEC Secretariat hosted a virtual briefing with the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, in Washington, D.C., via a webinar on impact on the COVID-19 pandemic on the global oil market and near-term recovery prospects. The briefing included analysis of the recent decisions of the 9th and 10th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meetings of 9 to 12 April. OPEC Secretary General His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Barkindo said no individual stakeholder had all the answers, stressing that it was only by reaching out and cementing the bonds of friendship between reputable institutions that the global energy markets can make sense of a rapidly evolving energy landscape. Dr. Barkindo stated that sooner than later, things would return to normal. Discussions covered topics such as the global economy, world oil demand contraction, storage, future cooperation among producers, and prospects for recovery.
The expected excess supply volumes on the market, particularly in the second quarter, are beyond anything we have seen before. Our industry is hemorrhaging. No one has been able to stem the bleeding.
Behind screams and tears of pain in some communities, there is a terrible act of pipeline vandalism which causes fire outbreak and takes innocent lives. Pipeline vandalism also pollutes our waters and the fish we eat. Please join us to save lives and stop this crime. Warn or report those who vandalize our pipelines. The law will deal with them. NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
Hello, it's a pleasure to have you join us on the feedback segment of the program. My name is Julia Auta. The menace of crude oil theft is a big threat to the national economy. On today's edition, our roving camera is asking the public of their suggestions on how best to control crude oil theft in the country.
Crude oil loss has been a problem, very intractable. As a governor, I was part of the solution of that problem to some extent. I came up with the amnesty program, which the federal government adopted and which resulted in at least a reduction of the losses. But we still have a lot of losses, and I think we should not have one drop of oil lost that is being produced. So we are going to focus on loss of production.
There's need for government to look at the corruption in the system, and also for government to look at the welfare of the people living in those areas, that is in the Niger Delta area.
Let them find something, either in industry, tailoring or whatever, that we empower these people so that when they're engaged, they will not have any reason to go and to steal oil.
The government of this country is supposed to beef up security in that region and also empower the youth so that they will not be engaging in all those voices.
The government needs those who are within the vicinity to work with them hand in hand.
If the youth are gravely engaged, they won't be talking of, or they won't be thinking of how to vandalize our pipeline and other things.
The government should look into this by engaging our youth in some most job opportunities, so they can have the mindset or start looking around to steal our crude oil in the society.
My best advice for those that are engaging in this kind of art is that they should know that there will be an end. Anything you are doing now, just know that one day you might be caught, or one day you might not get away with it, or one day you will stand before people like this and you'll be saying, had I known? So it's better to just desist from all this.
From the foregoing, there is urgent need for synergy between the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and other relevant stakeholders to stem these incidences of crude oil theft in order for the nation's economy to continue to prosper for the common good of all. And that's it on this segment. Please stay with us for the rest of the program.
Hello, thanks for joining us on this segment. My name is Faith Ayuba. Did you know that pipeline vandalism is the illegal act of puncturing or destroying crude oil and petroleum products pipelines to steal the products? Did you know that in Nigeria, the Petroleum Production and Distribution Anti-Sabotage Act of 1975 governs the petroleum vandalism law? Did you know that the Anti-Sabotage Act states that any person who willfully does, aids, incites, counsel another with intent to obstruct or prevent the production, procurement and distribution of petroleum products in any part of Nigeria will be guilty of the offense of sabotage? A person found guilty of petroleum product pipeline vandalism is liable to a death sentence or a term of imprisonment of up to 21 years. Did you also know that the effects of pipeline vandalism range from environmental pollution and ecosystem damage, fire outbreak, economic loss, plant and refinery stoppage, fuel scarcity, electrical power outage, and population displacement and loss of lives? Now you know. Don't go away. Crude Oil Outlook is next.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil prices rose on a surprising rise in China's April exports, United States output cuts, and the slow return of some activities in Europe. Brent crude was up $1.48 or 4.98% to $31.20 per barrel after dropping 4% during the week. United States West Texas Intermediate WTI futures rose $1.48 or 6.17% to $25.47 per barrel after having declined more than 2% in the previous session. Market analysts say Brent could go back to early April levels as the market is testing the capacity of Brent to stay above $30 per barrel. They believe that the globe is out of the super contango now, with refinery runs coming back and the United States is cutting production to provide support. China was a bright spot in terms of oil demand last month. Imports climbed to 10.42 million barrels per day in April from 9.68 million barrels per day in March. Further, China's overall exports data showed a rise against expectations of a sharp drop. United States gasoline stocks fell for a second week as some states eased lockdowns that had sharply hit traffic, according to the Energy Information Administration (EIA). Saudi Arabia raised its official selling prices for June after cutting May exports to almost the lowest in a decade. United States crude inventories were up for a 15th straight week last week, rising by 4.6 million barrels, the EIA said. Also capping prices were indications that Iraq, OPEC's second largest producer after Saudi Arabia, has not yet informed customers of impending restrictions on its oil exports. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and allied producers, a grouping known as OPEC Plus, agreed to cut production from May 1 by about 10 million barrels per day to help support prices. And that's it on this segment of the program. I am Owigo Okolo.
The NNPC and its partners, you are coming to our aid with the logistics and from even permanent infrastructure.
My brother, my sister, make we join the hand to stop pipeline vandalization. We no dey allow government to build the road, hospital, provide light, build the school, and make Nigeria be like big country. Make we dey fight the pipeline vandalization. Make our country come better for we and we children. Now me and you go stop this wahala. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Make our country come better for we and we children. Make we dey fight this yama yama, fight this yama yama. Make our country come better for we and we children. This message now from Public Affairs Division of NNPC.
That's been the program and the package for this edition of Oil and Gas Forum. Thanks for joining us. Whenever you are in the public place, remember to do this to keep safe and be safe.